You ever just watch a YouTuber make something cool, and then they tell you,
여러분들도 갖고 싶은 피규어가 있으면 직접 만들어 보세요.
and then you're like,
Yeah, I can totally do it myself.
we start by printing out a reference image of our future dog and tracing an outline of his head with a 3D pen.
I don't really know what I'm doing.
Arky is the dog-shaped companion of the main character from Epic 7 that fights by his side. However, in the real world we only have cats, and real dogs are a lot of responsibility, so we'll be making a dog figure instead. He has a cute, round, simple version, and that's for Scrubs. And I hate myself, so we went with his cool form, which is referred to his full name, Arcasis. We continue with his body, and eventually we end up with this cartoon car-shaped thing. Next we cut the end of it that represents Arky's hips. Since in the image he's facing slightly toward the camera, we compensate for the angle by elongating his torso a little past the reference image. It's time to think in 3D. We make another circle which will help make his chest round in 3D space. We also trace his limbs. Next we attach the extra circle to make his chest. Then we attach his legs, or wait impatiently while someone else does it. Now we're reinforcing all the existing parts with some more filament, until we get some sort of dog/horse-shaped skeleton. We're now realizing the neck is in an awkward upright position, so off with it. Then we reattach it in slightly more natural position. We give Arky some neckage to support his newly attached head. This will definitely be the last time we'll be removing it, so we make sure to attach it real good. If you focus really hard, you can get your filament tangled with the power cord of the pen.
How?
The benefit of this? Also, our pen no longer works, so we try to fix it by looking at it funny. That seems to have fixed it for now. Now we're applying layers of mayo-like filament to build out the shape of the dog. Then our pen breaks again, so we get a new pen. This process takes quite a long time, so your best bet is finding an absolute idiot to help you out, like this moron here. Alright, now it's time to figure out what we're gonna do with the head. We're building the head the same way that we did before. We make sure to add a lot of layers, or our Arky won't be very smart to say the least. We cut off the previous head shape because it sucks. And then we make some room for the new one. We attach the new head using the picture as reference, and bulk up the neck to hold it. Now more mayo. Now we give Arky his big ears so that he can hear us better. And a new hairdo. Arky is very furry, so we gotta do this for the rest of his spikiness. You know what? This process was taking too long, so we ordered Sanago's pen to make it go faster.
Whoa, it does come with the two exchangeable thingies.
Nice. Oh yeah, we can totally plug that into an American wall outlet. Now we begin smoothening Arky with a soldering iron. This helps make his shape be less jaggedy, and hopefully slightly less like a 3-year-old made it. We make sure to do a really poor job and leave lots of gaps to make our life harder in the future. After smoothing him out, we've got to fix some stuff that doesn't look right. We add some bulkiness to his front paws to fix his balance and make him less wobbly. We start getting the general shape of his face going too. But it's too stressful, so we move on for now. When it comes to Arky, there's always more random spikes that just keep coming when you think you're done. Oh, you thought we would finish these now? No, let's add some more layers to Arky's chest instead. That'll be a lot of fun. Arky's looking real sharp now.
So sharp that I cut my finger on him.
Never skip leg day. Alright, now let's go back to the bananas. While doing this process for the 5th time, we think about how it's almost over. Except it's not, because we still have this massive tail. I guess we can't keep putting that off forever. We start by neatly tracing it, and then just go fucking wild, I don't know. Arky's got a really puffy tail, and it resembles a cloud, so it's important that we give it some puffiness. It's gotta look like you wanna touch it. It's gotta look like if you took a bite out of it, you just can float away. So we start by filling out the base of the tail so that it can be attached together with his butt tendrils. Here's where we attach it without filling out the rest of the tail so that it's harder to do it later. Sometimes it's important to prove to yourself that you're going in the right direction by looking at the bigger picture so that you don't give up. Now begins the painful process of filling it in. So while that's happening off screen, I'm gonna smooth out one of the bananas so I can have a snack.
Delicious!
Now we get the base of the tail ready for banana attachment.
Oh yeah, he's still doing the tail.
And it's done. Looking good so far, but it kept bugging us that his head looked way too small compared to the reference image, and I didn't think we were doing Arky justice with how much brains we robbed him of. So we decided to give him the opposite of a facelift. We reattached the face lower to match the reference image better, and now Big Brain Arky can do his calculus homework. Now we finish off the rough face shaping. It's at this point that we get bored of doing the same thing, so we decide to mix it up with some sanding. God, sanding's so fun. Music to my ears. Sanding helps prepare smoothing the surface and helps paint stick to it. You gotta make sure to grip Arky really hard or he may fly away. Use sandpaper for the hard to reach surfaces. Sand his eyes to make him really feel the experience of being too sleepy to do anything. And then you keep going until it's nighttime for ultimate gains. Finish off with a relaxing pedicure or stressful paper cuts, however you want to look at it. You brush Arky well to prevent any cavities. Now we decided to experiment and coat Arky in this thing called Mr. Super Clear. It makes the surface easier to paint and can also be used as a sealant on top of paint. Now this thing has like a billion toxic warnings on the back, so you gotta wear a mask with a filter and gloves. All that good stuff. While doing research, we found this guy spraying it in his room like air freshener. Don't do that. That's for sure, don't do that. We're not sponsored by Tide, but this Costco box really wanted us to advertise it. So if you're out there, Tide, we're looking for... So he's looking pretty rough, but whatever. It's time to paint! I don't really have experience painting stuff like this, so we decided to wing it like everything else. We start off with a coat of blue. However, the paint really started to highlight all of the imperfections, we'll call them.
The paint looks so bad with the cracks.
Yeah, it's fucking horrible. It's actually disastrous.
And then I have you here just sitting.
It looks like Arky survived an apocalyptic event. And I put survives in quotes because he's not really living at this point.
Oh my god, it's awful.
Since we did not put a lot of care into ensuring that there are no gaps while filling and soldering Arky, we were now left with a gappy Arky. And we decided to fill the holes with epoxy sculpt. This stuff requires equal parts of two different solutions, and leaves you with this goopy substance that you can use to sculpt and fill gaps, since it dries solid after an hour or so. We then use a sculpting tool to fill out some of the imperfections. We also took this chance to sculpt some of his face furries, which were tough to get working with a 3D pen and burning tool. Since I've never done any sort of clay-like sculpting before, we kept ruining the thing we sculpted on one side while trying to fix the other side, so that was fun. Thankfully, at our darkest hour, one of our cats came to help. Arky also got some claws, so now we're back to sanding the paint away. While sanding, a really cool thing happened. Arky's tail fell off, and that was so cool. I actually loved it when that happened, because it meant that I could continue to work on it for hours more. And really, there was nothing more joyful than that. We tried fixing it with super glue, but that just made things worse. We just had to go back to the burning tool and pen to fix it. And we're finally back to where we were before 4 hours ago. Let's go! Alright, fuck that shit. Let's give painting another shot. It was still not perfect, but it was a lot better, and a lot better is good enough. His tail gets some pinkish hues, which I think actually turned out pretty cool. We decided to fill his eye gaps with epoxy since we couldn't figure out how else to paint them. Back to painting some details. The pattern on the side of his body was kind of hard to figure out due to lack of references. We just knew that his belly is white, but the top of his back is blue. So we just winged it like everything else until we were somewhat happy with it. We then added the blue patterns on his tail to distract from all the gaps that still exist on it. Is it working? Painting the face was scary, but if you just stop breathing while doing it, sometimes you can get a straight line going. We then spent forever making this pattern on the chest, which will later get completely covered with fur. Peak efficiency. We contour his eye gaps and nose with black and also give Arky his trademark eyeliner. This part was probably the most satisfying. We then added a dark wash to where the shadows would fall. I think it's supposed to give the paint job some depth. We then add some highlights to his face and throughout his body. This really makes things pop. We finish off the paint job with his edgy reddish pink pupils, which finally breathes some life into him. He's definitely looking better. He's got that comic book character look going for him. He's been through a lot. After managing to spill yellow paint without even using yellow on anything, we decided to take some shots of the paint job before ruining everything with fur. Maybe we don't even need to add fur? No, we definitely need to add fur to cover that. We start off by measuring the pieces we need and tracing them out on paper. We bought special fabric scissors just for this. I just wish I had scissors to open them properly. We've never worked with fur before, but thankfully we found a tutorial by Bubbly Leaf explaining the process so that we can pretend like we know what we're doing. After cutting a bunch of shapes that sort of make sense, it's time to cut out the faux fur. We then brush it with my cat's fur brush to straighten it out. Beautiful. To avoid having Arky look like Santa, we decide to trim the fur under his chin. We also bought this fabric glue. We start sticking hair to Arky's chest. Can't forget his ears, and his trademark eyebrows, and then his feet. Some of the gaps between the fur looked bad, so we're just filling them with, you guessed it, more fur. We then trim the excess fur with scissors. It's now time to cover the awfully bulky and uneven tail, so we create some flocking by shaving off a bunch of fur. We then start gluing it to the tail, trimming it, and spiraling off into insanity as the fur covers everything around us, including our eyes. Eventually the tail starts looking pretty cloudy, just like the reference, and our vision. I actually like quite a bit how the tail came out. At this point, I think we accidentally cut part of his eyebrow, so we cut the other one to match it. Looking back at the footage, we never actually cut his left eyebrow, so when we tried to compensate by cutting the other one, we just made the right one shorter for no reason. In the end, we just glue more fur to his eyebrows to make them bushier again, and that's all for the fur. So here he is in all his glory, Arcasis. We think he turned out pretty well considering we've never done any of this before, and we took on maybe a project that was a bit too big for beginners. He's a little rough around the edges, but he's truly one of a kind. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe, it helps us out a lot. See you guys in the next one. You said hit record.
Yes, and then I noticed that the thing is tangled.
You're ruining our video.